Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're someone who's constantly analyzing things, constantly processing new information, and always striving to learn more, well, your mind is probably running a million miles a minute right now. Today, we're going to translate the really profound concepts of natural pattern recognition into a guided journey. And this journey, it's specifically designed to shift your nervous system from that constant, exhausting state of overthinking right into a state of grounded, calm awareness. We're going to explore how nature's design can literally rewire our focus. But before we even start dissecting the material today, the source asks us to do something incredibly simple right off the bat. So drop all your agendas, just pause for a brief moment, and take one really slow, deliberate breath. Seriously, let's try it right now. Inhale and exhale. That subtle shift you just felt in your physiology, that right there is the foundational state we're building upon today.
Okay, so let's dive into this contrast because it's a real game changer. There is a massive difference between just casually looking at nature, which, let's be honest, leaves our mental clutter completely untouched, and actually learning to see again. When we just glance at a tree as we walk by, we stay stuck up in our own heads. But when we actively start noticing the hidden intelligence, the rhythm, and the repetition in nature, it actively quiets the nervous system. It's an actual biological shift from overthinking to pure presence. It's the intentional practice of redirecting our focus.
All right, moving into part one, preparing for presence. You can't just snap your fingers and instantly be perfectly present, right? It takes a bit of a setup. Let's see what kind of physical preparation is required to actually cultivate this kind of deep, mindful presence. So the absolutely crucial point here is that your environment literally doesn't matter. You do not need to hike out into some pristine, untouched wilderness. It can be a local park, a couple of potted plants on your balcony, or honestly, even just a single leaf on a tree by the road. The rule is simple. Carry zero agenda. And this next part is big. Avoid taking photos initially. Leave your phone in your pocket so you can actually experience the moment firsthand. The source text gives us three very clear, actionable phases to master this practice. First, we actively slow down our habitual, rushed way of looking at the world. Second, we isolate and observe very specific natural elements. And third, we integrate all these observations through what's called a pattern awareness journal. So let's unpack that very first step. As you deliberately force yourself to slow down your gaze, I want you to ask yourself this foundational question directly. What natural patterns are quietly repeating around me right now? The world is constructed out of spirals, symmetry, textures, and cycles. We usually just filter the whole shebang out. Our goal today is to bring all of that back into high definition. Which brings us to part two, observing nature's elements. Now we're entering the core rhythm of this explainer, where we isolate four specific elements of nature to deeply observe their spirals, symmetry, flow, and cycles. This is where the active observation really takes off. We're going to begin our intentional observation with perhaps the most accessible element out there, leaves. I mean, they're everywhere, right? Yet we rarely ever give them a second glance. Next time you pick up a leaf, don't just see green. Really focus your attention specifically on their intricate vein structures. These aren't just random chaotic lines. They follow precise, mathematical, fractal patterns, acting like tiny little highways for nutrients. Notice the symmetry, the subtle color gradients shifting from the stem all the way to the tip, the textured edges. And notice the beautiful imperfection of how, out of the billions of leaves on Earth, no two are ever fully identical. Now, this invites us into a pretty profound reflection. How can something be so fundamentally similar, yet completely unique at the same time? They follow the exact same biological blueprint, yet their individual journey shapes them differently. It's an incredibly powerful metaphor to hold in your mind. All right, from the quiet stillness of a leaf, let's turn our attention to an element defined by constant dynamic motion: water. Whether you're looking at a river, a fountain in a park, or just a puddle left over after the rain, watch closely for the ripples. Notice the fluid movement. Pay special attention to how it naturally flows around obstacles instead of fighting them. Observe the shifting light patterns bouncing off its surface. It's essentially a masterclass in physics and grace, happening right in front of you. Let this calm observation really sink in for a second, and ask yourself, What does the effortless flow of water actually teach us about true adaptability? When water hits a rock, it doesn't stress out or stop flowing, it simply finds a new path. It completely yields, yet it's powerful enough to literally carve out the Grand Canyon over time.
So, from the ground, we now lift our gaze upwards, taking in the vastness and the constant transitions of the sky.
The sky is just a massive canvas of constant, quiet change. Observe the slow transitions between light and shadow up there. Notice the movements of cloud formations as they slowly build up and then dissipate, the brilliant shifting colors as the sun moves across the horizon, and just the sheer unobstructed openness of all that space above you.
As you take in that vast, unobstructed space, reflect internally for a moment. What inside you is currently craving that exact same openness? Where are your thoughts feeling a bit clouded or restricted lately? And how can you cultivate that expansive, clear sky within your own mindset?
For our fourth and final element, we're going to bring our gaze all the way back down from the massive expanse of the sky and plunge straight into the busy, micro-level world of insects.
Just look down at the grass or the bark of a tree trunk. Pay close attention to their rhythm of movement and their seamless, completely wordless teamwork. Did you know ants use chemical trails to create perfectly optimized supply chains? Look specifically for their moments of patient pausing and their absolutely incredible persistence whenever they encounter a barrier. Consider the really profound lesson hidden here, right at your feet. What kind of vast intelligence exists in these tiny, completely unnoticed things? We almost always overlook them entirely, yet they operate with this highly efficient cooperative logic that is frankly mesmerizing once you truly start paying attention to it. And that takes us to part 3, connecting patterns to life. Having observed the external world through those 4 specific elements, leaves, water, the sky, and insects, we're now transitioning into the pattern awareness journal phase. It's time to bring these external observations inward.
This process brilliantly illustrates exactly how external patterns perfectly mirror our internal lives. Noticing a spiral leaf pattern, for instance, reminds us that growth isn't linear. Sometimes we have to circle back just to move forward. Observing flowing water shows us firsthand that resistance creates tension, while yielding actually creates momentum. And watching those shifting clouds, it proves that our emotions, no matter how heavy or permanent they might feel in the moment, absolutely do pass.
I want to invite you to sit quietly with these deeper questions right now. What did nature just mirror about your own current state? And where exactly in your life are you currently resisting the natural flow? Are you forcing a project, trying to control a relationship, or holding on to a rigid expectation instead of just letting it develop at its own natural pace? To synthesize all of this, the source prescribes one final, powerful exercise. I now want you to let your mind completely rest in observation for a 2-minute silent awareness practice. The key here, the absolutely crucial part, is letting go of all analysis. Don't name the bird flying by, don't categorize the type of tree. Simply witness the raw data, the movement, the colors, the rhythm, the shapes, and the stillness around you. Just let your analytical mind finally take a well-deserved break. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, deeply powerful insight from the text. Just as a tree doesn't sit around comparing its branches to the tree next door, and a river doesn't force its current to flow any faster than it already is, nature does not rush to become itself. Yet, somehow, everything evolves perfectly. Perhaps our own healing and, honestly, our ultimate efficiency begins when we finally stop trying to forcefully control life long enough to notice that. So I leave you with this to ponder. What part of your own life are you rushing right now? And what profound things might happen if you simply trusted your own natural rhythm?